In today's video, I have for you 2 simple steps to transform your chipping and pitching. This is the biggest difference I see between elite golfers and your average amateur golfer, and it's really easy to change. Make sure you check out this video. So as demonstrated, they're 2 completely different shots. So the first outcome was that heavy one, that dreaded shot that golfers so worried about, because I've got a bunker in my way or water in my way and I'm catching it heavy, I'm leaving it short of the green, I'm suddenly turning what was perhaps a par opportunity into a bogey or maybe worse still. And it's so easily done. We see that heavy strike catching the ground. When the ground's that little bit softer, it can cause a real disaster shot like the first one. And a completely different second shot, where obviously I got a nice high flight, stopping nicely onto the green. With the second one, you'll have hardly seen any divot. In fact, I've just scraped the turf, whereas the first one, I almost folded the divot over the golf ball. Now, the difference is really, the main difference is going to be the height. So on the first one, the demonstration of the bad shot, I was losing height in my downswing. And what golfers do when they lose height, they know they're going to hit the ground before the ball, so they tend to push the hands a long way forwards. That gets the leading edge of the golf club really digging into that turf first. And if they do manage to strike it, which occasionally they'll do, they'll just see a lower ball flight, it'll bounce and roll more, and they'll wonder, why don't they get the height? Why don't they get the spin? And it's just because they're de-lofting their sand wedge into a pitching wedge or a 9-iron, etc. So they're going in lower. When they do manage to strike it, they also take some bigger divots. On the bad ones, they could be heavy. They could even be thin, so we'll see a variety depending on how well that golfer compensates. But generally, it's the loss of height is the #1 fault I see with your average amateur golfers when we're talking about chipping or pitching. So I'm hitting here a 30-yard pitch shot towards that top right flag. I'm trying to fly the ball probably about 25 yards to be just this side of the ridge and then let the ball roll up that hill a little bit. And as I said, the fault I see here is the golfers losing height and then having to push their handle forwards, because if they lose height and they don't, they'll definitely hit the ground way behind the golf ball. So they'll try and shove their hands forwards. And again, that de-lofts the golf club, takes off the bounce. Now, the fix isn't that difficult. All I was trying to do on that second shot was maintain my height, actually feeling like I went up in height. And this scares average golfers because they're worried about topping or thinning it. But if you watch any elite golfer pitching, chipping, you will see their head going up and forwards in the downswing. Bad chippers and pitchers, you see them going down and backwards. So good chippers and pitchers, whoever you focus on, find your favorite golfer, find some slow-mo footage of them on YouTube, and you will see their head moving up and forwards. And it allows room for my arms to start to extend. So I almost want you to feel like you are on a shelf, and so the shelf's on the top of your head and we're maintaining that level, or maybe actually bumping the shelf. What we don't want to do is go downwards, okay? So we just want to try and feel like we are extending upwards. Now that helps the second part. So I mentioned there's a 2-part fix. Well, actually, if you do the first part, you may well find the second bit happens automatically. That's the really good news. We want the club to catch up with our hands, okay? Especially on this shot, a pitch shot, where we're looking for some some height and elevation. We want the club to catch up with our hands. So we want to use all the loft on the golf club and also the bounce of the golf club, which gets talked about a lot, and it's really not that complicated. So if you haven't heard me talk about it or anyone else before, it's just that the club is designed that actually the middle to trailing edge of the wedge should be hitting the ground first, not the leading edge. Okay, the leading edge works more like a knife, whereas the middle to trailing edge almost works a bit more like the spoon. Okay, so it's going to skim or slide through that turf or whatever it would be, whereas the knife is going to be digging. So we want to use the sole of the wedge correctly, and then we get away with our strike. So I'm trying to feel like I stay tall or even move taller on the way through. So I'm just trying to get that feeling of extending. Now, if I go soft with my grip, I'll allow that club to catch up with my hands, and if my body is going up, also the club will be accelerating, because if my handle is moving upwards, something pretty magical happens. When the when the shaft is moving up, the grip is moving up, the club head will accelerate to try and line up. Okay, so as my body is rising, my handle is rising, the club head will accelerate to catch up with my hands. And as long as I'm not gripping the golf club excessively tight, so I want nice and smooth, light grip, then I'm really going to allow that club to catch up with my hands. And what you'll see on the way through is the club head is higher than my hands, rather than my hands higher than the club. So let's just hit a couple. Again, I'm going for that 30-yard top right flag. And I'm just trying to feel like I stay tall, light grip, and the club head is catching up with my hands. Again, another good example. So the reason I'm aiming a little left here is there is a little left to right break on there, and you can see that one cozied up to the flag, probably only around 2 foot. So very, very happy. Again, very, very shallow with the divot there. Hardly a graze of the turf. This is a very simple video, but it's really going to transform your chipping and pitching around the green if you do it. So the main thought is tall. If you do that, the rest can start to happen. The second part is just going to be allowing the club to catch up with your hands. And I have got a drill I want you to do there. I want you to hold the cane up the side of the golf club, so it's going to go under your left armpit, and I just want you to try and get that feeling that the cane is touching our body, so my lead side, my left side, by the time I get to where the golf ball would be. So if I make some practice swings almost over the golf ball, the cane is hitting my lead side by the time I strike the golf ball, which is different to having a handle forwards. Now with a normal iron shot, we are looking for some shaft lean. Our hands should be forwards. This cane would be slightly away from my body. But when I'm pitching, I really want that cane to be hitting me, because I'm looking for the club to catch up with my hands. Now, we can do something very similar, even if we just hold the club way down the shaft onto the steel part here. I want you to try and get the feeling that we can get the grip end pointing back to my belly button by the time I get to the golf ball, rather than my hands being forwards this way. So I'm just trying to get the club to catch up with my hands. As I said, you may not need to worry about that part. If we can keep the height, we should find the club starts to catch up with our hands, and we want to see the shaft with minimal shaft lean. We don't want our hands excessively forwards. So my real focus is maintain the height. Oh, so just a little short. That'd have been better for that first flag there. But again, you'll see nice strike, nice contact. I just needed a little bit more speed, really. But all 4 of those that I've hit there, 3 of them also, great strikes, minimal contact, good elevation, good stopping power. And that was just from the feeling of tall. I know if you can give it a go, just start with on the practice range or at home in the garden if you've got a little bit of space to do so, even with some airflow balls. Just get used to staying nice and tall. Maybe get it on video and just draw a little line on your head and see if you're going down or up or maintaining those levels. Golfers are worried about going up, and they're worried about their head coming up. Garbage. The more they stay down, the more they keep their head down, the worse it's going to be. We've got to allow our body to rotate and extend. And as I said, if you watch any elite golfer in their short game, that's exactly what you're going to see, and that's what I want you to copy. If this video has helped, make sure you hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, at least 2 instructional videos a week. Right now, YouTube is suggesting the next video of mine that's relevant for you, and it's just here, so click on that one as well.